I thought my best friend and fiancé were planning my dream wedding, but they were planning their own behind my back. On their big day, I showed up uninvited, and what I did next left their love in ruins. My best friend stole my fiancé, so I ruined their wedding day. My name is Sophia, and I'm 30 years old. I'd been engaged to my fiancé Ethan for 2 years, planning the wedding of our dreams after 5 years of dating. Ethan and I met at a local book club in Seattle. He was a software engineer with a love for sci-fi novels, and I was a graphic designer who couldn't resist his shy smile. We bonded over late-night discussions about Dune and built a life together, dreaming of a future with kids, a cozy house, and a shared passion for travel. My best friend since high school, Chloe, had been by my side through it all, helping me pick out my engagement ring, planning my bridal shower, and even designing the wedding invitations with me. But that all changed when I caught Chloe and Ethan together, shattering my world. And my revenge on their wedding day became a moment no one would ever forget. Ethan and I had set our wedding date for June 20th, 2024, and the months leading up to it were a whirlwind of planning. Chloe, as my maid of honor, was involved in every detail, choosing the venue, a gorgeous vineyard overlooking Puget Sound, tasting cakes, and helping me find the perfect dress, a lace gown with a flowing train that made me feel like a princess. But as the date approached, I noticed changes. Ethan started working late at his tech firm, or so he claimed, often coming home after midnight with excuses about deadlines. Chloe, too, became less available, canceling our coffee dates with vague reasons like family stuff or work emergencies. She was a freelance photographer, always busy with shoots, so I didn't think much of it at first. But the whispers of doubt grew louder when I saw a text on Ethan's phone one night. A message from Chloe that read, "Miss you already. Last night was amazing." My heart sank, but I told myself it was a misunderstanding. They were friends because of me. Maybe they'd just gone out for drinks to plan a wedding surprise. Those doubts turned into a nightmare on May 10th, just 6 weeks before the wedding. I'd been at a client meeting in downtown Seattle, finishing early, and decided to surprise Ethan at his apartment with takeout from our favorite Thai place. I used my key to let myself in, expecting to find him coding on his laptop, but instead I heard muffled laughter from the bedroom. My stomach churned as I pushed the door open, and there they were. Ethan and Chloe, tangled in the sheets of the bed we'd picked out together, kissing like they'd forgotten the world existed. Chloe's camera gear was scattered on the floor, and Ethan's shirt, the one I'd bought him for his birthday, was crumpled beside it. They didn't notice me at first, but when I dropped the takeout bag, the sound jolted them apart. Ethan's face turned white, and Chloe gasped, pulling the blanket up to cover herself. "Sophia!" Ethan stammered, scrambling out of bed, pulling on his jeans. "This isn't what it looks like." Chloe's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't say a word, just stared at me like a deer in headlights. "Not what it looks like?" I shouted, my voice shaking with rage and heartbreak. "My fiancé and my best friend, in our bed, 6 weeks before our wedding? How long, Ethan? How long have you been sneaking around with her?" He tried to reach for me, but I stepped back, tears streaming down my face. Chloe finally spoke, her voice trembling. "It started 3 months ago, Soph. I'm so sorry. We didn't mean for it to happen." 3 months. While I was picking out centerpieces and writing my vows, they were betraying me behind my back. I ran out of the apartment, ignoring Ethan's pleas to come back, and drove to my sister Mia's house, sobbing the whole way. Mia held me as I broke down, telling her everything. The text, the late nights, the scene I'd just witnessed. She was furious, ready to confront them both. But I stopped her. I needed time to think, to process the betrayal that had shattered my future. The next day, Ethan called me nonstop, leaving voicemails begging for forgiveness, saying it was a mistake and that he still loved me. Chloe sent me a long text, apologizing, claiming she'd fallen for him but never meant to hurt me. I didn't respond to either of them. Instead, I canceled the wedding, losing thousands in deposits, and returned Ethan's ring through Mia, telling him I never wanted to see him again. But the story didn't end there. A month later, I heard through mutual friends that Ethan and Chloe were still together, and they were planning to get married. They'd set a date for September 15th, 2024, at the same vineyard we'd chosen for our wedding, using the same caterer, the same florist, even the same photographer I'd booked. It was like they'd stolen my dream and made it theirs, rubbing salt in the wound. The betrayal stung even deeper, but it also lit a fire in me. I wasn't going to let them rewrite my story with a happy ending, not without consequences. I decided to crash their wedding, and I'd make sure they'd never forget the day they crossed me. I spent the next few weeks planning my revenge, keeping it a secret even from Mia, who I knew would try to talk me out of it. I reached out to the photographer, a sweet woman named Jenna, who'd been devastated to hear about my canceled wedding. She confirmed she was still booked for Ethan and Chloe's event, and after I explained my plan, agreed to help. She'd always thought Chloe was shady during our planning meetings. I also contacted the DJ, a guy named Marcus who I'd bonded with over our shared love of 80s music, and he was on board too, disgusted by what Ethan and Chloe had done. My plan was simple but devastating. I'd show up at the wedding, play a video exposing their betrayal, and let their guests see who they really were. September 15th arrived, a crisp fall day with the vineyard glowing in shades of orange and gold. I dressed in a sleek black dress, not to blend in, but to stand out, my heart pounding as I drove to the venue. I parked out of sight and slipped in through a side entrance, where Jenna was waiting. She handed me a USB drive slot for the projector they'd set up for a slideshow of Ethan and Chloe's love story. The video I'd prepared was a compilation I'd made with Mia's help. Screenshots of Chloe's text to Ethan, a voice recording of Ethan's voicemail begging for forgiveness, and photos of them together that mutual friends had sent me after the breakup, including one of them kissing at a bar just days after I'd called off our engagement. I'd edited it with captions. This is how they started, by breaking my heart, and they stole my wedding, but not my voice. The ceremony was underway when I arrived, Chloe walking down the aisle in a dress that looked eerily similar to mine, Ethan waiting at the altar with a nervous smile. I stayed hidden in the back, watching as they exchanged vows. The crowd of 80 guests, some of whom had been invited to my wedding, clapping and cheering. My stomach churned, but I waited for the perfect moment. During the reception, as the DJ announced the slideshow, I gave Marcus the signal. The screen lit up, but instead of Ethan and Chloe's photos, my video played. Gasps filled the air as the first screenshot appeared. Chloe's text, "Miss you already. Last night was amazing." Then Ethan's voicemail, "Sophia, please, I'm sorry. It was a mistake." The photos followed, each one a dagger, and the captions told my story. The final slide read, "They built their love on my pain. Enjoy your day." The crowd erupted into whispers and shouts. Chloe's face turned pale, and Ethan froze, his eyes darting around as guests stared in shock. Chloe's mom stood up yelling, "What is this?" while Ethan's dad shook his head in disgust. I stepped forward, microphone in hand. Marcus had slipped me a spare, and spoke. "I'm Sophia, the woman they betrayed. Chloe was my best friend, Ethan was my fiancé, and they started their love story while I was planning our wedding. They thought they could erase me, but I'm here to remind them. You don't get to break someone and walk away unscathed." I dropped the mic, the feedback echoing, and walked out as chaos unfolded behind me. Guests started leaving, some confronting Ethan and Chloe, others taking photos of the screen. Jenna later told me the reception fell apart. Chloe ran off crying. Ethan tried to explain but was booed by his own cousins, and the caterer refused to serve dessert, saying she didn't want to feed cheaters. The video spread online, going viral on local wedding forums, and Chloe's photography business took a hit as clients canceled bookings. Ethan's tech firm demoted him after the scandal affected his team's morale. They stayed together, from what I heard, but moved to a new city, their reputations ruined in Seattle. I moved on, focusing on my career and healing with Mia's support. Lucas wasn't part of this story, but I did adopt a rescue dog named Max, who's been my loyal companion through the pain. I'm dating again, taking it slow with a kind architect named Ben, and I've learned to trust again, little by little. Crashing their wedding wasn't just about revenge, it was about taking back my voice and showing them that betrayal has consequences. What would you have done in my place? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of betrayal and justice.